Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. So in our last session, we have started with different types of invoices and their payments. Like we have covered recurring invoices and withholding tax invoice in our previous session. And in today's session, we are going to see debit memo, credit memo, and invoice type prepayment as well. So before moving forward, if you want to see my already covered session on AP topics, you can find them on our website. You can go and check. So let's start with today's session with the prepayment invoice. Basically, it's advance payment to a supplier. So what happened is prepayment invoice is prepared when you make a payment to supplier in anticipation of the provision of goods or services. Like you have not taken any gold or you have not received any services from the supplier, but still you are making some payment, an advance payment to the supplier for the use in future purpose. So what you can do here is you can create one prepayment invoice by paying an advance to a supplier. Then after creating and paying that invoice, it will be available for use when you will take good or you will receive some services from the supplier. You can use this prepayment invoice against the normal standard invoice at the time of uh, real when you take goods or services from that supplier. Fine. So what you can do is first you need to prepare a prepayment invoice here. Then when you will create a standard invoice, you can use this prepayment. You can apply this prepayment invoice for paying the amount to a supplier. Fine. So we will go to the application and we will see how you can create a prepayment invoice and how you can utilize this prepayment invoice against the standard invoice. So basically, in short, prepayment is nothing but the advance payment to a supplier, which can be used by you at the time of standard invoice. Fine. So let's first log into the application. Sorry. So after logging to the application, just need to select the accounts payable responsibility. Then to create or enter invoice, go to invoices, entry, invoices. A Java form will get downloaded. Just open this file. Okay, now we will prepare our prepayment invoice here. So type operating unit is already defaulted here. Type we will give prepayment as we are creating prepayment invoice. Now we will give our supplier to whom we are making advance payment through this prepayment invoice. Then select supply site, then take invoice date. I'm taking today's date as invoice date. Now give invoice number. I'm giving PP invoice INV as number. Then give an amount. I'm giving here 10,000 USD. I'm just concentrating and focusing on the fields which are mandatory here to create the invoice. You can see rest information here is coming already. Where this information is coming from the options which we have set up while setting up the AP module in first place. Now Now let's see anything else. Match option, match action. I will take it as invoice. Fine. Here you need to give your payment method. We're given match action invoice, then term date is coming, term is immediate. Payment method we will give here, check will be a payment method. This information is fine. Okay, one thing I would like to add here is prepayment type. There are two types of prepayment. One is nature temporary, one is permanent. If you will select permanent, it will not be available for usage against the standard invoice. So if you want this premium to be available for the adjustment when you create a standard invoice against the supplier, so you need to select prepayment type as temporary, which is coming here. You can see here, prepayment type temporary is coming. If you will select temporary, then only this invoice will be available to be used against the standard invoice for the supplier. Fine. So information, all the information in this row is done. I'm done with the information here. Now I will move to the lines, and we will add the amount. Go to distributions. So here prepayment account is already coming as by default, and from where it is picking this options. We have already discussed about the financial options, payables options in AP. So from there it gets defaulted. This account code for the prepayment is coming from there. That options only which we have set in our financials and payables options while setting up the AP module. So from there this prepayment is defaulting. So say OK, save it, close. Now go to actions, and now validate. When you will validate, generally when you validate a standard invoice or so, the status becomes validated after validating. But for prepayment, when I will validate, you will be able to see that status is coming as unpaid. Fine. So let's go to action and now validate it. So here you can see status is coming unpaid. Now we will pay this prepayment. Go to actions. Go to pay in full app options. Enable this checkbox. Say OK. Now just see all the information required. Mandatory events are filled here or not. If not, you need to fill it. Like we need to give a bank account here for payment. Sorry. Now let's just check. Payment process profile is also required. Here is my payment process profile. I have created with the name of EBS PPP. I think this fields are not required, not mandatory to create a payment now. So fine. So after this, just save it. Fine. So this got saved. Close it. To view payments. Okay, just save this. Okay, just a second. I think this page got stuck. Okay, fine. Now it's working. So just close this form and just re-navigate to see whether the invoice and the payment are done properly or not. So invoice entry invoices. Let's search for the invoice which we have created. Searching with the name, number, I don't remember. Just giving the type as prepayment and let's find it. Okay, so now you can see we have prepared and we have paid also successfully, under amount paid 10,000 USD is coming, and now status from unpaid it is coming as available for use against standard invoice. So this is how you can first create your prepayment invoice. So we have just created our prepayment invoice and made a payment of it, full payment, so that it can be used against the standard invoice. Now the next thing which we are going to do is we will create one standard invoice and then we will see how you can apply this prepayment to that standard invoice. So for that, we'll create a new invoice. Type will be standard. Give supplier. Supplier site. So you can see here in note, it is giving us one prepayment are available for application to invoice for the supplier. So as we have created one prepayment in the name of the supplier, so it is just informing us that there is prepayment against the supplier. If you want to use that prepayment against the standard invoice, you can use at the time of payment of the standard invoice. Fine. So this is the note. Now give the invoice date. Give number. I am giving here standard invoice prepayment PP. Fine. Now invoice. Now I'm taking invoice amount, say 15,000 USD. And section invoice. Payment method. I will give as check. Fine. So we are done with this. Now we'll move to lines. Give amount here. Go to distribution, give amount, give account for which you're creating this standard invoice. Let's take any expense. Fine, just save it, close this. Now go to action and just to validate this invoice first. So you can see status is validated. Now I will show you how you can use your prepayment invoice while creating a payment. So for that, you need to go again to this actions, and here apply and apply prepayment option is coming. Just enable this checkbox. Say OK. Now here you can see our prepayment PP invoice of 10,000 is coming as available to use against this 15,000 standard invoice. So just need to click on this apply. Apply and apply. Now here you can see existing prepayment application 10,000. Here it is coming. Just save it, close it, and just validate it once again. So you can see it's got validated now. And here we have created invoice of 15,000. We have applied prepayment of 10,000. Now balance 5,000 is showing here. So for this 5,000, you can create your payment normally. Like you can just go to this action, go to pay in full, say OK, and just link your bank account here and payment process profile. And also give your payment process profile. This bank account and payment process profile which we have created in a session, I'm using that only. Fine, just save it. Fine. After just saving it, close it. Save it again, and let's just okay. Just wait for 2-3 seconds, then it will allow us to close this. I don't know why it is coming error every time. Okay, so just close this. Go back to this invoices and search for the invoice, standard invoice this time, which we have created, and utilizes our prepayment invoice on it, and also created payment for the balance amount of 5,000 in a normal manner. So just go to EBS. You can give type as standard invoice request. Okay, I think number is SIPP. I have given invoice number. Let's find with this. Okay, so now you can see here amount with 15,000 is coming. So item here is coming of 15,000 USD. Prepayment we have applied for 10,000 USD, and for the rest 5,000 we have created a payment normally by attaching a bank account and payment process profile. So this is the basically concept of the prepayment. You can just prepay or give an advance to your supplier. Like in our example, we have given advance of 10,000 to our supplier. Then after that, when you will actually buy some goods or have some services from that supplier, you can just use this prepayment to the standard invoice. So in our example, what we have done, we have created 10,000 prepayment. Then when we have created standard invoice of 15,000, we have applied this 10,000 prepayment to this 15,000 standard invoice, and for the balance 5,000, we have normally created a payment separately by just attaching our bank and payment process profile to it. So this was the whole concept of the prepayment invoices. I hope this is very clear to you all. Now just close this. Now after prepayment invoice, the next concept is of the debit memo and the credit memo. So what is debit memo and credit memo? Basically, credit memo is a document from a supplier that provides a credit for your goods or services vendor, and debit memo is a credit from a supplier that doesn't send you a credit memo document. So basically, what is the basic difference between the two memo is like you are overcharged from the vendor, like charges were of the 10,000 USD now, but the vendor has charged you with the 11,000. So for this 1,000 overcharge, vendor is going to raise credit memo to you. Fine, but opposite of this is like you have taken some goods from the supplier and you realize that there is some damages, so you raise a debit memo to the supplier. So basically, this is the debit memo and credit memo. Credit memo is raised by the vendor, and debit memo is the memo which we raise. Fine. So this is the concept of debit memo and credit memo here. Both are created on the with the negative amounts because it's reducing the liability. Both are used to reduce our liability. But the thing is, credit memo is the document which suppliers give to us, and the debit memo is the memo which supplier don't give to us. We raise it. Fine. So this is the basic difference, and the both are created in negative amounts and used for the reducing the liability. So now what we will do, we will go to the instance and I will show you how you can create a debit and credit memo to it. So first, for creating a debit memo and credit memo, there we need to have one standard invoice on which we will apply a credit memo or debit memo. So what we will do, we will go to the application, we will create a standard invoice, and I will show you how you can create a credit memo with a full amount. And if you want to uh, create credit memo with a partial amount of the standard invoice, like standard invoice was of the 10,000 and you want credit memo for all the 10,000 amount, you can go for that full amount credit memo. And if you want partial, like you want 5,000 or 6,000 to raise as credit memo, how you can do that as well. So I will show you both the things. Let's go to the application and first create the standard invoice. So navigation is the same. You need to go to invoice, entry invoices. So type the standard, give your supplier. Supplier site, invoice date, invoice number. I'm giving SICM because I'm going to use this for credit memo. Let's give invoice amount as 500 USD. Match action is invoice receipt and purchase order. So I'm taking invoice only. If you want to match your invoices with the purchase order coming or from the receipts of the goods, You can take merge action accordingly. I'm taking invoice and I need to give payment method here. I think that's all we require here. Now go to lines. Give amount. Go to distribution. Give account for which we're creating the standard invoice. First give amount and give account. Just save it. You can save it by pressing Control and S, or you can just go to this save icon and save the work. Fine. And after that, just go to action and validate it. So this is simply we have created a standard invoice normally. Now what we will do, we have validated it. Now what we will do, we will create one credit memo against this standard invoice. So let's go to invoice area once again. Give type here as credit memo. Say okay. Just give your supplier. Supplier side invoice date. Giving invoice number as CM only. Now give invoice amount here. 500. And you can see here quick credit is coming. Just enable this checkbox and link your standard invoice. Okay, sorry. Actually, I have not created this with the negative sign. So credit memo is created with the negative amount. So this is fine now. I just forgot to place negative sign there. So after that, you just go to that quick credit option. Here is it. Just click on this quick credit option and give your standard invoice here against which you are making this credit memo. So here it is which we have created SICM. Just select it, say OK. Fine. Go to lines. Okay, payment method is left. So I will give first my payment method. Checks. Now let's go to lines. Here you can see amount already is coming, and when you will go to distribution, it will take the account by default because we have linked our standard invoice against which we are creating this credit memo to it by just enabling the checkbox of quick credit. So that's why accounts and all the amounts in the lines is coming already here. So just close this. Just go to action and validate this. So it's got validated. Fine. So all the lines, all the distribution is coming here, and this is how you have created your credit memo. So very easy. you can create your credit memo like this. But if you want your credit memo, like we have created a standard invoice with the amount of 500, sorry, with the amount of, yes, 500 USD, and you want your credit memo to be amount less than 500 USD, like 100, 200, or any partial amount. So what you need to do is you just go to this quick credit and do not enable this checkbox and or link your standard invoice. Just normally create your credit memo, go two lines and give the accounts like we were using here, rent account, rent expense. If I will go to distributions, here the code was 7420 of the rent expense, which was coming by when we have enabled our quick credit checkbox here and linked our standard invoice. So this amount and account was defaulting by itself. So if you want any partial amount credit memo, so you don't need not to enable that checkbox or link your standard invoice. Just create your standard invoice normally and just link your correct account here for which you are uh, creating that credit memo. Fine. So the basic difference between the two is this only. You need to just take care of this point of enabling the quick credits option here and linking the standard invoice. If you want to make a full payment credit memo, you can go with this option. Or if you don't want for full amount, if you want for a partial, do not enable this option. Just create your invoice normally as you do, and just keep in mind when you will create the lines, you are taking a correct account for which you are creating the credit memo. Fine, so this is the credit memo. In a similar manner, debit memo, let's just quickly create one debit memo also. So first we need a standard invoice against which we are going to create debit memo. So first creating a standard invoice here. SIDM, say amount 100. Standard invoice will be created normally with no negative sign. Only debit and credit memo will be created with the negative sign there. Batch action invoices I'm going to give. And payment method. Check. Go to lines. Give amount. I think we have taken 100 USD. Go to distribution. Give 100 USD. Give account for which we are creating the standard invoice. I'm taking rent account only. And save it. Close it. Just go to actions. Validate it. Say okay. So it's got validated. Now the next thing is what we are going to do is to create a debit memo. So just go to next row and give the type as debit memo. Say okay. Give your supplier. Supplier site. Give invoice date. Giving DM as invoice number. Give amount in negative minus 100 USD. Give payment method is check. I think quick credit option I have left behind. Let me check. So here it is. Action, invoice, quick credit. Let's search for the invoice which we have created and validated right now. Here it is SIDM. Just select say OK. Fine. I think the rest information is not required here. Let's go to lines and you will see here already amount is coming, and when you will go to distribution, already the amount and account will be displayed here as we are linking your standard invoice which we have created. So everything is recording from that standard invoice. Fine. And after that, just go to action, validate it. Fine. So this is how you can create your debit memo as well. So basically, debit and credit memo creation is same. There is no difference. You just need to be aware of the type, but you're selecting debit or credit memo, and debit memo is not raised by the vendor. We realize anything, so we raise, and the credit memo is the document which is raised by the vendor. So these are the two basic difference. And the debit credit memo for the partial amount which I was showing. Let me just show you one thing. How you can do is it is same for debit and credit memo both. So what you can do is you can just select here debit or credit memo for the partial amount if you want. Say debit memo and go to supplier. Give site, give date, giving number as partial DM, and let's say give any amount, say 50 USD. Now what you need to do is you need to go to this quick credit options. You just need to skip that, just give a payment method and invoice action and go to lines. You don't need to enable this. And let's give a payment method. Fine. Go to lines. This time you need to give amount and account here because we are not linking our standard invoice here. Give amount. Go to distribution. Give amount and account. Say for rent, you are creating this memo. Okay. Just save it. And this is how you can create your debit memo for partial amount. Now go to action and just validate it. So it's got validated. So this is how you can create your partial amounts debit or credit memo. For credit memo, we have just shown you the debit memo. For credit memo, all the steps are same. Just you need to give a type as credit memo. Fine. So this was the basic concept of the debit and credit memo. So what we did, basically, we have created one standard invoice first, and then we have seen how you can create a debit memo, credit memo, both with full amount and with partial amount. Fine. So this was the concept of debit and credit memo. Now let's moving towards our next topic of the standard reports. So basically, there are various kind of reports which are already provided by the auditor in the application. So I have just list out some of the standard reports which are required in the AB module. So these are the standard reports. Like first is the account analysis reports. So this report assists in reviewing journals and related transactions. You can use this report as part of your reconciliation process and preparation of your closing entries. So these account analysis report helps you to review all the journals and related transaction to it. So if you want this, if your requirement is to review journals and related transaction, you can go for this account analysis report. Then the next is accounts payable trial balance report. It includes subtotals for partial and unpaid invoice appearing on each GL account. So this report enables accounting to post payable liability to the journal ledger. So basically this report is useful for that purpose. Then there is invoice register and payment register. So invoice register is to give the full detailed view of the invoices. Like we have selected some invoices and we want full detail of that invoices, so you can just go for it. You can just select some invoices and can get a full information on that invoice, and it is used to view invoice detail for selected invoices, and we can use this report for reviewing revenue, tax, invoice totals, and for invoice processing status. And say for the payment register, you can use the payment register to review payments created for each bank account. Fine. The reports list each payment as well as total payment amount and cleared amount for all payments. So basically, this is invoice register and payment register. Then bank account listing. We use this report to review payment information for each bank account. Payables provide detailed information about each bank, bank branch, bank account, and payment document that you have defined. So if you want a detailed report on the bank account, like what are the bank accounts and what all the information related to bank branch, bank account, and the payment document you have defined for the what the particular bank. You can just run this bank account listing report and you can get all the information from there. Now the next is the invoice approval status. So you can view detailed status of the approval process using approval status report, like when invoice in the status of the approval. So what is the status of that in that process of approval? So this report helps you to get that. So this is the invoice approval status report, which gives detail of the approval process of any invoice. Now there is invoice on hold report, like we have discussed about the invoice approval. On a similar manner, if there is any invoice which is on hold for payment or for further usage of, so you can just get a report of all the invoices which are on hold for any reason. So you can just go through this report and check what are the invoices on hold. Then invoice aging report. We use this report to analyze the cash flow of your unpaid invoice. It provides information about the invoice dues. So if there is any unpaid invoice, so you can just go to invoice aging report and you can run this report and see information about invoices due, what are the periods up till which they have dues, or there is some invoice which are overdue. You can just see all the information uh, of of the due dates and all, and invoice aging report. Now the next is supplier report. So we use the supplier report to review the detailed information you enter for a supplier and supplier side window. This report also shows if a supplier is on a PO hold, you have the option to include supplier side address, contract information, payables list, your supplier in alphabetic order, or you can additionally order the report by supply number. So basically, when you run this report, you have many options, like you can include supplier side address, contact information in that report. If you want, you can run this report in alphabetical order, or if you want to run this report by supplier number, you can also go for this option. Sorry for the disturbance. Uh, so basically, supplier report is for that purpose. You can get detailed information what you have entered while creating a supplier at the supplier and supply side window. So all the information will be reflected in the supplier report. So these are some of the standard reports which are very important, which are very useful in day-to-day purpose. So what were the reports? Account analysis, account payables, trial balance, invoice register for all the detail about the invoice, payment register for all the detail of the payment, bank account listing for all the detail of the bank account, branch, payment document defined, then invoice approval status. If you want that invoice is in the approval, so what is the status of that invoice in that approval processing, whether it is pending for approval with the manager or with the director or with whom, whether it got approved or it is pending for approval, all the things of the approval processing will be reflected in the invoice approval status report. Then the invoice on hold report, all the invoices which are on hold for any reason will be reflected in this report. Then invoice aging report will help us to get the information of the invoices due. Then there was a supplier report for getting the detailed information about the supplier you entered in the supplier and supplier side window. So these are the standard reports. Now let's go to the application and see from where you can see all these reports. So what you need to do is you need to go to view, request, submit a new request, and just search for the report you want. Like if you want invoice register to run, so go for invoice register, search for it. So you can see it is coming invoice register. Just select this report. Now it will ask us to give some parameters over here. Fine. So some are mandatory, some are optional. So these parameter defines how report, what are the information your report will generate. Like you want cancelled invoice only, you can set it as yes or no. Unvalidated invoice only, you can set it at yes or no. So it will include that invoices accordingly in its report. So these two parameters, cancel invoice only and unvalidated invoice, are mandatory as they are in yellow faded color. Rest is optional, but if you want for a particular supplier, particular invoice type, batch, enter date, accounting period, and all, you can just go and enter it. So I'm just entering my supplier name, and I will show you while running this report how it is visible for demo. Let's see whether it generate any report for this EBS supplier or not. Just say OK, and now just submit it. Do you want to request submit another request? No. Just go to this fine and see the status of it. So let's just refresh it. So it's got completed. Normally just go to reprint and republish. Republish output. Invoice registered this output format. Let's go for HTML and just apply it. Let's go back to here. Go to view output. So here it is. So I have gone to republish reprint. You can ignore it. You can just go to view output and you can view your invoice register report. So it will look like something like this. It will include information like supplier name, invoice number, voucher number, invoice date, original amount, amount remaining, and all. So you can see our credit memo, debit memo. You can see which we have just prepared, standard prepayment and all. Here in today's session, you can see it is reflecting here. Fine. You can see date also 10 March is coming apart from this 6 March and 1 March. So what we have created today is also reflecting here in our invoice register. So this is how you can run your report here. So just close this. Fine, so no need to go for this republish and all. You can just run the report and go to view output. You will be able to see your output here. So this was one example of invoice register. Let's take one more example of report. Say, let's take payment register also. Let's go to submit a new request and let's run payment register report also. Now again it will ask for the information like from date to date what you want. Let's take today's date. I don't know whether it is the correct format or not. DD month. I think it should be DD month and okay. I need to write here MAR. To date, taking the same date. Display supplier address. If you want yes or no, you can go for it. Say okay. Submit it. Do you want to submit another question? No. Find. Just refresh it. It's got completed normally. Go to view output. Here you can see output is coming like payment number, sequence number, pay, site, payment amount. In today's date, what we have done, it is reflecting that only here. Fine. So we have made one payment while preparing a prepayment invoice of 15,000 USD. It is reflecting that only here. Fine. So it's coming the HTML view. So this is how you can run your other reports also. I have just shown you two, invoice register and payment register. So you can just go to that view, and from view you can just submit a request of this reports by searching the reports by its name, and you can go through to the reports. And so we have seen our prepayment invoices, debit memo, credit memo, and some standard reports also. So this was all for today. Thank you.